Welcome to the Daily Bite. I'm your host, Reverend Steve Andrews. We continue our study in the book of Numbers with chapter 2. Yahweh spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying, "The people of Israel shall camp each by his own standard with the banners of their fathers' houses. They shall camp facing the tent of meeting on every side. Those to camp on the east side toward the sunrise shall be of the standard of the camp of Judah by their companies, the chief of the people of Judah being Nahshon, the son of Amminadab, his company as listed being 74,600. Those to camp next to him shall be the tribe of Issachar, the chief of the people of Issachar being Nathanael, the son of Zuar, his company as listed being 54,400. Then the tribe of Zebulun, the chief of the people of Zebulun being Eliab, the son of Helon, his company is listed being 57,400. All those listed of the camp of Judah by their companies were 186,400. They shall set out first on the march. On the south side shall be the standard of the camp of Reuben by their companies, the chief of the people of Reuben being Elizur, the son of Shadur, his company, as listed, being 46,500. And those to camp next to him shall be the tribe of Simeon, the chief of the people of Simeon being Shelumiel, the son of Zerushadai, his company, as listed, being 59,300. Then the tribe of Gad, the chief of the people of Gad, being Eliasaph, the son of Ruel, his company is listed being 45,650. All those listed of the camp of Reuben by their companies were 151,450. They shall set out second. Then the tent of meeting shall set out, with the camp of the Levites in the midst of the camps. As they camp, so they shall set out, each in position, standard by standard. On the west side shall be the standard of the camp of Ephraim by their companies, the chief of the people of Ephraim being Elishama, the son of Ammihud, his company is listed being 40,500, and next to him shall be the tribe of Manasseh, the chief of the people of Manasseh being Gamaliel, the son of Pedazur, his company is listed being 32,200. Then the tribe of Benjamin, the chief of the people of Benjamin being Abidan, the son of Gideoni, his company is listed being 35,400. All those listed of the camp of Ephraim by their companies were 108,100. They shall set out third on the march. On the north side shall be the standard of the camp of Dan by their companies, the chief of the people of Dan being Ahiezer, the son of Ammishaddai, his company is listed being 62,700. And those to camp next to him shall be the tribe of Asher, the chief of the people of Asher being Pagiel, the son of Achran, his company as listed being 41,500. Then the tribe of Naphtali, the chief of the people of Naphtali being Ahira, the son of Enan, his company as listed being 53,400. All those listed of the camp of Dan were 157,600. They shall set out last, standard by standard. These are the people of Israel as listed by their fathers' houses. All those listed in the camps by their companies were 603,550. But the Levites were not listed among the people of Israel as Yahweh commanded Moses. Thus did the people of Israel, according to all that Yahweh commanded Moses, so they camped by their standards, and so they set out each one in his clan, according to his father's house. This is the word of the Lord. Now, as you start this, whether you're a single person who's on your own, whether you're young or old, if you're married, if you have children, it doesn't matter what demographic you fit into. I want you to draw this chapter. I want you to put this on paper. Start with the tabernacle. Just draw a very small rectangle in the center of your paper, because you're going to need the rest of your paper for drawing all these tribes. Just put it on paper. You want to get the view of this, and what this is, what God is doing here is impressive. So start that way. The tabernacle is the little rectangle in the middle, and remember, the tabernacle is God's. It's the tent of God, and it houses the ark, which is the throne of God, and it's the place where He has promised He will speak to His people. All right, so then we look, and we see here already in verse 2, the people of Israel shall camp by their own standard. And then banners is also referenced of their father's houses. This is not their own standard, is not a way of saying, however they want by their own standard. Not that. The standard is a reference to the banner. It's like you would think of a flag. This is the thing that you would carry off in front of you into war. So if you've ever seen those like Middle Ages kinds of uh, either TV shows or movies where they're carrying a banner before them into battle, um, older American history pictures will do that as well. If you see some of those films, so I don't know that we do that necessarily as our soldiers go into war in the 21st century, but that's been a part of warfare for, well, millennia. It's been a long time that you carried your nation's flag into the battle before you, and so these tribes each have their own mark, their own banner representing their tribe, and so they're supposed to camp by their banners. Now, notice in verse 2, they camp facing the tent of meeting on every side. That's going to be your drawing. So, as they set up their tents, they're to set them up so that they face the tabernacle, they face the Lord. He is their he is their sunrise, if you want to speak of it that way. We can make the comparison there, the play on words in English. The sun has risen, not just sun, but son, as we think of Jesus and our salvation, which is a neat thing. I don't know. I doubt that was intentional by whoever made the English language many, many years ago, but maybe it was. Anyway, so you have now a description in verse 3 of three of the tribes are going to be camped on the east side of the tabernacle. So your little rectangle on your page, go ahead and off to the east of it, off to the right, draw three big circles all next to each other. That's Judah, Issachar, Zebulun. Those three tribes, they're going to set out first. So whenever the camp is lifted, because the pillar of fire and cloud that leads the Israelites throughout those 40 years in the wilderness, whenever that pillar moves, they move. If you see the pillar go, you pack up your tent, your family's tent, the Levites pack up the tabernacle, and you march. So these tribes would move first. And then, starting in verse 10, on the south side, you have Reuben, Simeon, and Gad. So on to the bottom of your paper, draw three circles next to each other. And so they're going to march out second. And then after they have left, after they've marched, then verse 17, the tabernacle is taken down and sets out. So the Levites who are encamped immediately around the small rectangle on your paper, they care for it, they guard it, and so they're going to carry it off. And then you have 18 on the west side. So on the left of your paper, go ahead and draw three more circles, Ephraim, Manasseh, and Benjamin, and they'll set out next afterwards. Interestingly enough, these are all the children, the descendants of Rachel. So you might remember Jacob, as Israel, had 12 sons, but he had them by four different women. So he married Leah, the weak on the eyes sister, which is a Hebrew reference for not being beautiful, but ugly. And then he ended up marrying her sister Rachel, the beautiful one that he had fallen in love with. And so he marries both of them, and he also has children by basically their handmaidens, their servants, um, Bilhah and Zilpah. I forget who goes to who served who in that regard. But anyway, Rachel is barren for a long time before God eventually opens her womb and gives her two children, Joseph and Benjamin. Joseph is going to have Ephraim and Manasseh. And so here, these are all Rachel's line. I just thought that was an interesting thing to observe. Anyway, verse 25, north side, so three more circles, Dan, Asher, Naphtali. This group sets out last. What do you see? What have you drawn on your paper? It's basically an aerial view of how God had his people camp. And what's in the middle? The throne of God. I mean, today we like to talk this way, right? We like to say God is in the midst of us. God is here with us. Yeah, he is, and he was then too. He was literally in their midst. He was in the middle of them. He was the center of their life. In a very literal sense, he was the very center physically of their camp. of their nation as they camped around him. He was the source of all things good. They faced him when they woke up, when they got out of their tent in the morning. They're facing him, they're turning to him. And just the imagery that is in this is profound. And it's a wonderful example, a wonderful illustration that he was setting up for them to be able to see. God is right there in their midst. So, as you've drawn this picture, that's your question for your kids. What do you see? Where is God in this? He's right there in the middle, and he's right there for us as well. He is the center of our lives. He is our everything. We look to him always. And so when you first wake up in the morning, turn to the Lord in prayer. Right before you go to bed at the end of the day, turn to the Lord in prayer. And every moment in between, we're giving thanks. This is 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verses 16 through 18. Rejoice always, pray without ceasing, give thanks in all circumstances, for this is the will of God for you in Christ Jesus. Great stuff. That's a neat picture that we have here with our Old Testament text. Now, the other thing to note is that the tabernacle, even as they move, God remains in the midst of them. So 6 tribes go first, and then the Levites carry the tabernacle and the ark, the throne of God. 6 tribes follow behind.